All right, welcome back to another CELPIP writing lesson. Today we're going to take a look at writing task 2, which, if you'll remember, is replying to a survey question. Okay, so in this lesson, I'm going to evaluate someone's writing. Okay, one of my subscribers sent me an email with their writing and asked me to evaluate it. So I said yes. And so in this video, I'm going to just give some thoughts about it. I'm not going to rewrite her answer. I have done that in previous CELPIP writing videos where I'll kind of rewrite and change I'm not going to do that in this video. I'm just going to give some feedback and suggest some changes. Okay, so let's dive in. Let's take a look at the question here. Okay, the question is, you live in a small town, 10,000 people. A large green area in the center of the town is underdeveloped. Okay, now, guys, I know that this question has not been written by a native English speaker. So I don't know where she got this question from. There are probably a lot of CELPIP questions online that are made by, who knows, right? So if you want, I would recommend using my CELPIP book because I don't make mistakes like this. Now, I do make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. There might be some grammar, some spelling mistakes in my books, but underdeveloped, we use that word to talk about countries. If we talk about an underdeveloped country, or like a developing country, but we don't talk about land as underdeveloped. It's undeveloped, right? If there's a big, open, let's say green area in the center of the town, that would be undeveloped, not underdeveloped. Also, they missed the word of. You live in a small town of 10,000 people, okay? So the city has sent out an opinion survey to see what the residents would like to have built in that area. Okay, now built in, see where they put the little, like, the hyphen there? That shouldn't be there. It's not built in. That's not one word. It's two separate. It should be two separate words. Okay, what the residents should have built in that area. Now you can see they also forgot the period. Right, a sentence needs to end with a period. So I don't know. I'm just pointing that out here. Okay, so you have two options, right? Option A is a shopping complex. This shopping mall includes. There should be an S there, right? It's another mistake. Okay, this shopping mall includes restaurants, a large supermarket, and a theater. Now, see how they put the comma there? There should be no space before a comma. There should be a space after the comma, but this person has put a space before and after the comma. I don't know what they're thinking, guys. They need to watch Mad English TV videos so that they don't make this mistake. Guys, there's a fly buzzing around my head. Can you see that fly buzzing around here? You can describe a fly's motion and the sound as buzzing. If a fly buzzes past your ear, zzz, get away from me, stupid fly. Okay, so that's option A. Option B is a recreational park. This park would include a sports complex, a large green area, and a petting zoo. A petting zoo, do you know what that is? A petting zoo is like a kind of a small zoo for children to go and pet animals. It usually has animals like goats or what other animals would there be? Maybe horses, small horses. There's those mini horses, like those ponies, or I don't know what they're called, those small horses, or like donkeys or sheep. What other animals can you pet? Have you ever been to a petting zoo? Let me know down in the comments if you've ever been to a petting zoo. And even real zoos, very often they'll have a section of the zoo as a petting zoo. So the kids will be able to go there and there will be like a supervisor there that will let kids, pet the different animals, right? So that's what a petting zoo is. So which option would you pick out of these two options if you lived in a small town of 10,000 people? I don't know. I don't know which one I would pick. I mean, I'm not interested in going to a petting zoo. Might be nice to have a sports complex, actually, or a large green area. I don't know. But this person picked option A. Okay, so when you are, when you're taking the exam and when you see this question, just pick the answer that you like. Just pick whichever option, not the answer, I should have said, pick the option that you think is easier to write about. Okay, so this person picked option A. So guys, let's dive into their writing and let's see what they wrote. Now, just by looking at the structure of this, it's good. It's a good structure. Okay, she has an opening, kind of an opening sentence, and then she has three paragraphs that match so she picked option A, right? And so option A, it says the shopping mall includes restaurants, a large supermarket, and a movie theater. Now, I like what she did here because she chose to in option A, she talked about the restaurants. Option B, in paragraph, did I say option? So in the first paragraph of the body, right? There's kind of three body paragraphs. The first body paragraph, she talks about the restaurants. The second body paragraph, she talks about the supermarket. And the third one, she talks about the movie theater. I think that's a great way to structure it. So great job. So let's start reading her response. Okay, I strongly believe that the construction of Bolton Mall. Now, I don't know what that is. Is that the name of the mall? If it's the name of the mall, there's no reason to have parentheses around the word. And also, there's no reason for that word to be in all caps. Only the B should be capitalized, and also the M in mall should be capitalized because it's the name of a specific mall. Right? So if the mall is called the Bolton Mall, B and M because it's a specific mall, right? Normally the word mall would not be capitalized, but because this is the name of the mall, then both the B and the M are capitalized. It's the same with park, right? If it's just a normal park, it's a lowercase p, but if it's like, Central Park or the name of a park, Mark's Park. My name is Mark, by the way. If you're new here, welcome. What's your name? Let me know your name down in the comments. I'd be happy to meet you. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for all my new subscribers. I really appreciate you. Okay, so Bolton Mall in Louisiana. Now, this word Louisiana, if you look at the question doesn't say the name of the town. So I would say, forget about the name of the town. You don't need to name the town. You can just call it our town. Why? Because clearly you live in this town and the town council or the leadership of the town, they're sending this survey out to the residents of the town. Okay, so everybody knows it's your town. You don't need to name the town. Now, this word Louisiana, this is, to me, it looks like they're trying to spell Louisiana. Okay, there's a state in the US called Louisiana. Now, I would say don't pick a word that sounds like a real place, because if you misspell it, then the CELPIP evaluators will see that and they'll think you misspelled the word. Or they might think that. Is there a town called Louisiana? Sure, there could be a town called Louisiana. It's a fine name for a town, but just because there's a place called Louisiana, it's just a bit awkward, right? So this person says, I strongly believe in the construction of Bolton Mall. This construction of this mall is a suitable suggestion for residents as they will achieve social, mental, and economical values. Suggestion. It's a suitable suggestion. Well, actually, this is not a suggestion. The leadership of the town, right? Probably the town council has sent out this survey not as a suggestion. I mean, they've said there's this empty area in the town, right? Something is going to be built here. Is it going to be this option or this option? One of those will be built. So just assume that, okay, when you're looking at this question, assume that one of those is going to be built, that the residents are all going to decide, right? They're going to send in their option. Do they choose option A or option B? And then the town councilors will review all the surveys and they will pick one of the options because they've already decided what they're going to build. It's either going to be this or it's going to be this. There's no third option here. Okay, so just pick one and defend that. That's what the whole purpose of this is. So the CELPIP evaluators, they want to see that you can just make a clear selection. So pick option A or option B, and then give reasons for why you think that would be a better option. So the word instead of suggestion, it should be option. So they should say something like this: I strongly believe that the shopping complex would be a better option, because there's two options, right? So it would be a better option for our residents, as they will. Now here we need to talk about these three things that she lists. Okay, achieve social, mental, and economical values. So firstly, that word values should be value, not values. That's kind of a different word. If we talk about values, we're talking about kind of a country's beliefs, or a people's, or a person's, like their I don't know, maybe their cultural beliefs, or almost religious beliefs, maybe. Like here in Canada, what are our values? What are Canadian values? Well, Canadian values are stuff like equality between men and women, right? So men and women have equal rights before the law. That's a Canadian value. Not every country in the world has that value, but Canada has that value. Okay, that's an example of a value. Okay, so the word value can kind of mean two things here, right? So if it means that, like I just described, right, men and women, equal rights, that's one of our values. Then if we put an S, that's kind of what it means. But if she's talking about like economic value, okay, so actually the word should be economic, not economical. And for mental value, we wouldn't really say that. So I've actually written this sentence, and let me just pull it up here. Okay, so this is how I would write this first sentence. Okay, I believe that the shopping complex would be a better option for our town because it would help improve our town's social fabric, boost our mental health, and provide economic benefits to our residents. Okay, it would provide economic benefits, right? When we're talking about the economy of the town, the money and the, all that stuff, and mental health, right? So I would say it's better to talk about mental health, not just mental benefits, because what is mental? I mean, what does that mean for like a town to have people in town to have mental benefits? It's a bit awkward just to say that. Rather, maybe to talk about our mental health, right? So I think that's a fine point to make about mental health and the social fabric, right? Improve our town's social fabric. That means like our society, our people. Do people have a chance to meet each other and to grow together as a society? Do neighbors know each other? Can they go to the park to meet each other? Is there good social fabric, right? If there's no social fabric, it's kind of a cold place, right? Maybe neighbors don't know each other. They don't talk to each other. Nobody feels connected to the town. Then that would be a town with no social fabric. But if it has a good social fabric, that means it's a really good society, right? So that's how I would write the first sentence. Okay, now take a look at that little word there, will. Okay, she says a suitable suggestion for residents as they will achieve will. You know what that little word tells me? Will. That tells me that this person who wrote this answer has not watched my CELPIP videos or not used my books. Okay, because if they had used my books or watched my videos, they would know that word should be would. I've said this many times that in task 2, use the word would, not will. Why? Do you know why? Because this situation is hypothetical, right? We don't know which option will be chosen by the town council. So you're just giving your suggestion about what would possibly happen. You don't know what's going to happen. So it's more natural in this situation to use the word would. It's understanding. It shows that you understand that this is it's a hypothetical situation. That means we're just talking about possibilities. We don't know what's going to happen, right? So in a situation like this, we use the word would, not will, because it's not definite, right? So now I'm not saying that as an attack on the person who wrote this, right? I think the person who wrote this, maybe they don't know that I have books. Hey, if that's fine. Maybe people write me all the time and they say, hey, Mark, how should I start studying for CELPIP? Are there any materials? And then I tell them, oh, I have some books. Have you seen my books? And they say, oh, I didn't know you have books. Let me get your books, right? So thank you to everybody who has used my books. I really appreciate that, and also watched my videos. So I'll put the link to my playlist. I have a whole CELPIP exam playlist on my channel that maybe you didn't know about, right? I think there's over 100 videos in that playlist. Okay, so watch that whole playlist. I would say take 3 months to study for the exam. Watch all my videos and use all my books, and you'll get a good score if you do all that studying. I would say take a minimum 3 months to prepare. So I'll put the link to my website where my books are down there, and also the playlist, my YouTube playlist with all my CELPIP videos. I'll put that down there as well, and also all my vocabulary videos. Guys, I have most of my videos on my channel, I have hundreds and hundreds of vocabulary videos, idioms, phrasal verbs, all that stuff. So just watch all my videos and you will get, you'll get a great score. So thank you to everybody who has watched who has read my books, used my books, watched my videos. Actually, just 2 days ago, I think, maybe it was yesterday, someone sent me $20 to my bank account, and they just said, hey, Mark, there was a note that said, hey, Mark, I used your CELPIP materials and I got a great score. So thank you so much. Hey, I really appreciate hearing comments like that. So thank you to the person who sent me $20. I didn't have a chance to, there's no way to respond to that. When you send an e-transfer in Canada to someone, you can put a little note, but then the person who gets it doesn't have any way to contact that person back to say thank you. So I appreciate that a lot. Thank you guys for giving me the feedback that my materials helped you so much. I really enjoy hearing that. So guys, with that, let's launch into the second paragraph. But keep in mind that this person uses the word will. It should be would instead, okay? So she says, no doubt that restaurants are a suitable place to spend a luxurious time at the weekends with family or friends. Okay, So it's not very formal to start a sentence with no doubt. Now, in a very casual context, maybe you can say that. But remember, here we're writing to the town councilors, right? So it should be formal writing, right? If you're writing to your friends or your family, you can use informal language. And it's even better if you use informal language. It's a bit weird if you're writing to your best friend and you're using formal English, right? But in this situation, you're writing to the leaders of the town, so it should be formal. Okay, so instead of saying no doubt, I would say something like this. I would say having more restaurants in our town, would blah blah blah, and you can talk about the positive benefits of having more restaurants. So I would say that's the way you should start this paragraph, or having more options in terms of restaurants would, you know, make our residents happy, or whatever the case is, right? Because in a town of like 10,000 people, here in Canada, it's very common to find towns of 10,000 people. And usually there might be like 10 restaurants in a town of 10,000 people. There might be, maybe three, four, five. There might be like two pizza places. There might be like a KFC or some other fast food restaurants. There might be a couple of sit down restaurants, like nicer places. You can go and sit down with your family after church, have a nice meal, right? Um, there's probably a Chinese restaurant. There might be an Indian restaurant. Okay, so there might be like 10 restaurants, but having like a mall is, well, it would definitely give you more options, right? Usually malls have like a food court with some fast food restaurants, but then also very often malls have like some sit down restaurants in the mall, some more like luxurious kind of restaurants in the mall as well. So that might be a good way, just saying having more restaurants in our town would give our residents, more options to eat out and socialize or something like that. Okay. So now this person says to spend a luxurious time at the weekends. It should be on the weekends. In North American English, we say on the weekends. We don't say at the weekends. In British English, I think they say at the weekends. But here in Canada and the US, we say on weekends or on the weekends. Okay, with families or friends, it should be family or friends. Okay, so if you're talking about doing an activity with family and friends, family or friends, it should just be family, not families. Okay. Now, to spend a luxurious time, okay, is going to a mall a luxury in Canada? Is it seen as kind of a luxury thing to do? Well, not really. Our malls here aren't that great. Now, I think the reason this person is using this is this idea of luxury, is connecting the idea of luxury with a mall, is because in many other countries, a mall is the most luxurious place in the city or in the town. I mean, like most towns here in Canada that with 10,000 people, they would have one mall, probably one mall. Yeah, I think just one mall. And the mall might have, some stores like a Canadian Tire store, they usually have a hardware store, maybe have some clothing stores, some restaurants, that kind of thing. Um, but it's not seen as a luxury place. But in some other countries, like I lived in China for a year, and everything is just more luxurious in China when it comes to shopping. Like they have these. I lived in Shanghai. There were nice malls in Shanghai. I mean, really luxurious malls. Just everything was super expensive. Um, And also in India, you can find really luxurious malls. Like going to a mall is kind of like a luxury experience in some of these countries, right? I remember I went to a Pizza Hut in China, in the city of Xiamen, China. It's kind of a city right kind of across from Taiwan, and that was such a luxurious restaurant. Pizza Hut here in Canada, Pizza Hut is just a cheap restaurant. You go there, it's just a typical fast food restaurant. It's not a luxury place, but in China, I mean, you sit down, they bring you a full menu, and it's a luxury place, really. Here in Canada, Pizza Hut is just, I don't know, it's just an average kind of a fast food joint. The word joint is, you can call, the word joint is a casual word to talk about a place, like a restaurant. You could say that's a nice joint. That's a fancy joint, right? Maybe some restaurants are it's a fancy joint. Some restaurants are kind of a, I don't know, kind of just an average joint, right? So what was I talking about here, guys? I'm talking a lot. So let's keep going. But I just wanted to make the point that here in Canada, malls aren't really seen as a luxurious kind of a place. So, gathering outside home or the working place can break the ice between the coworkers and the family members. Okay, break the ice. That's a good thing to talk about, right? To break the ice means to kind of get comfortable with someone, right? If you meet someone new, there's that feeling of just kind of awkwardness. You don't know if you can talk to them, or that feeling is the ice. So once you break the ice, that means you can be friends and you can relax, and you can get to know the people. Now, would we use the word break the ice with family? No, because let me ask you a question. Your brothers or sisters or your mom and your dad, is there ice between those relationships? No, there's no ice, because you know your mom and dad, you know your brothers and sisters. So there's no ice there, but you could say break the ice between the coworkers, right? Like having a place to meet outside the workplace, like, just a place to socialize and to break the ice between, new friends or coworkers. Yeah, you could use that as an example, right? Where are we? Okay, so moreover, tasting different types of food can raise up the mood and freshen up the spirit. Okay, this is kind of interesting. Tasting different types of food. Other cultures are much more food oriented than here in Canada and the Western world. We don't talk much about food, to be honest. When I was in China, I went to I went to a restaurant with two Chinese girls. I was teaching at a school in South China, just in the city of Foshan. It's a smaller city, just outside the bigger city of Guangzhou, South China, and I was new there. I didn't know anybody, but two of the girls who were teachers, Chinese teachers at the school, at the kindergarten I was teaching, they took me by bus into the town, because this place I was teaching at was a little town. It was weird. It was kind of a gated community. It was a really rich community. I think it was called Bigu Yuan. I remember remembering that Bigu Yuan, something like that. And this was a rich community, guys. There were like Ferraris. There were just nice cars. These Chinese people were just loaded. Loaded means rich. They were super rich. Man, I felt like just such a low class person there. But they treat, Chinese people treat foreigners very well. When I was there, the Chinese people typically treated me very well. So, maybe I can go back to China sometime. Yeah, that would be nice. I really like Chinese people, really nice people. So We'll see if I can go back. But right now, the political situation is a bit tense. Hopefully, that can be, maybe they can break the ice. China and Canada can break the ice a little bit and we can become friends and I can go back there, maybe teach English or just go for travel. I didn't travel that much when I was there. I wish I could have traveled a little bit more. That would be nice because China's beautiful. It's got some beautiful, beautiful spots. So, anyway, guys, went off on a rabbit trail there. But what was I talking about? Oh, about food. Now, look at this sentence. This is an interesting sentence. Moreover, tasting different types of food can freshen up the mood and or can raise up the mood and freshen up the spirit. This whole sentence, I would say, really shows the cultural difference. We wouldn't write a sentence like that. If I were taking the CELPIP exam, I would never even think of writing a sentence like this. Like tasting different types of foods. Like, if you go to China, every province has its own kinds of foods. Oh, and I totally forgot where I was going with my story about the two Chinese girls. Anyway, they took me out to a restaurant and their English was kind of limited, but all they talked about was food. They were asking me if I tried food from this province or that province, and I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Okay, but they're very proud of their food and trying different types of food, right? So Chinese people love Chinese food. They love the different provinces' food. They know about that food. Okay, they know, ooh, that province has really spicy food or whatever. And it's a point of conversation. Like if someone came to Canada and I was talking with them, there's no way I would talk about the food, or I wouldn't talk about like sampling the different kinds of foods around Canada. It just wouldn't be a point of conversation. Our food here is pretty boring. If you go all across Canada, the food is basically exactly the same. So, like I said, food isn't a huge part of our culture. But if you go to the Middle East or probably different parts of Africa or Asia, the food it's a talking point, right? Like I've been to India a couple times. The different regions have different kinds of food, especially South Indian food is very different than North Indian food, right? So that's, people talk about that, right? So I don't know. But I see what this person is saying, right? Is that, maybe going out to a restaurant can boost your mood or, rejuvenate your spirit. Now, we don't really use the words raise up the mood or freshen up the spirit. We don't say that. The better word to use would be boost. Okay, if something boosts your mood, that means it increases your mood, right? It makes you happier. And, to freshen up the spirit, a word we could use is to rejuvenate. But when we're talking about foods, we wouldn't really talk about rejuvenating the spirit. I mean, like I said, this whole sentence is something that I wouldn't write, and it doesn't really fit here, but maybe they could say something like, having more options, having more like, restaurant options will, I don't know, just give people an increased variety, or will increase our town's variety of cuisine. Okay, cuisine would be a good word to use here because cuisine means like food. It's kind of a fancy way to talk about food. So if we talk about like a certain cultural or a certain variety of food, we can talk about it as a cuisine. Okay, so we could talk about Indian cuisine or Chinese cuisine, or what other kinds of cuisine are there? Persian cuisine. There are restaurants here in Canada, all different kinds of restaurants. There's Korean restaurants, Vietnamese, different African, restaurants, Afghani, like I said, Indian, all of that stuff. So yeah, it's all different kinds of cuisine. Okay, so that's a good word a person could use here. Okay, so that's kind of the first body paragraph. Let's go to the second one. So she says, additionally, large supermarket, it should be the large supermarket or a large supermarket. You can use either article there. You can say a or the, because they have already, we know that the supermarket, I mean, there's they've talked about it already. So we can say it as the, because there aren't two different, we're not talking about different supermarket. We're talking about this one, the one they are planning, right? The supermarket. So we could say, additionally, the large supermarket will be, what does she say? Affordable for the residents, as it would offer all the goods they need for their living. Great. It gives people more variety, I would say. She's basically saying that it's more convenient, right? I would use that word, maybe more convenient and more cost effective. That's a good word to use, because usually bigger supermarkets, they offer cheaper products. Not always, but typically that's why people go to the big supermarkets. Like here in Canada, like places like Superstore or Costco or Walmart, right? They have a big, kind of a big selection, right? So that would be a good word to put in here. A large supermarket would offer our residents a wider selection of foods. Because if you've just got a small little grocery store, they can only put so many products on the shelf, right? But if you go to a big supermarket like Superstore, you've got a huge variety, right? So you've got a lot of different options, and you've got, it's more cost effective. So that might be a good term to put here. Okay, so where are we here? We did the first sentence there of that second paragraph. So they they would not have to go for searching about any items needed away from their home, and this would save the payments of transportation. Okay, so that's basically what I said, right? It gives people more selection and more convenience, right? Because they don't have to drive far, and that's a good thing, because here in Canada, if you live in a small town, very often you will have to drive to a big city to buy certain types of, I mean, let's say you live in a small town. I mean, here in Alberta, there are really only 2 or 3, 4 big cities, right? There is Edmonton, there's Red Deer, Calgary, and Medicine Hat. But if you live in a small town, outside one of the big cities, like you might live an hour away from a big city, or maybe 2 or 3 hours away from a big city. So very often people in a small town will drive to the city on the weekends, right, to buy their whatever they want to buy, because they have more variety and more options. So I think that's a great, that's what she's trying to say is good, right? I would say, instead of saying would save the payments of transportation, she could say it would save money from having to drive far to the city every weekend or something. Because if you have a big store right there, I mean, why would you need to go to the city? You have everything you need right there, right? Okay, so let's take a look at the third paragraph here. Regards the movie theater. Okay, so that should be regarding, not regards. If you use the word regards, that's how you like end an email. Like if I'm writing you, if it's like a business kind of an email, guys, there are like 2 flies buzzing around here now. These flies are multiplying. Anyway, hope they're not bothering you too bad. So if I'm writing a business email, I could end it by saying regards, Mark. Okay, so this is a wrong word. We should say regarding the movie theater. It will be a proper place. Again, remember, it should be would. It would be a proper place for entertainment and joy. That's great. Do movies bring you joy? That word, is a bit awkward here. We don't talk about movies bringing a person joy, but they probably do, right? If you go to a movie, you're happy, it brings you joy. We wouldn't say that. We would say it's a great place for entertainment. Yeah, entertainment kind of means it's something that makes you happy, something that entertains you, right? So, as watching films could reduce stress, increase motivation, and inspire cultural reflection, firms could bring awareness for special topics that could benefit the viewers. Interesting. Do you go to movies to for cultural reflection? Does it inspire cultural reflection? Now, again, I think this is kind of a cultural difference. Um, I wouldn't put these reasons as like reasons for having a movie theater. But maybe it does increase motivation or inspire cultural reflection. But I would just say in our culture here in Canada, these reasons aren't very natural, right? And part of the CELPIP exam, they want to see, are you a natural writer? Do you know about our culture? Is your writing appropriate? Does it fit our culture? Or is it just kind of like a bit weird? So try to write as naturally. And I would say, if I'm talking about a movie theater, one reason I would give for a town to have a movie theater, you could start this sentence by saying, regarding the movie theater, I think it would be great because it would attract the residents of other towns from the surrounding area, and that would boost our economy, right? Remember at the beginning, she was saying that it would have like economic value, right? To have the store, to have the what was the other one? Having the supermarket. So the restaurants, the supermarket, and the movie theater, right? So you could say having the theater would be great because the other towns don't have a theater. So this would attract visitors from other towns. And that's great because it boosts the economy, right? When people drive into your town to watch a movie, they're not just spending money on the movie. They're going out to a restaurant maybe to eat. That boosts the town's economy. They're maybe filling in gas at the gas station. That boosts the town's economy. So every time they're doing a trip in, maybe they'd spend like $50. All these people coming into our town to spend like $50, that boosts our town's economy, right? So that's what I would focus on here. So yeah, I don't know. Or you could maybe say something like once a month, maybe the theater could run some sort of like cultural, I don't know, some sort of like maybe they could have different like campaigns. I want to use that word, campaign. Like maybe let's say one weekend they show like children's movies at the theater. One day a week they show like children's movies. All the children from the surrounding area and the town can come and watch. Maybe they'll have a children's day where they play children's movies, or maybe they have like a history day where they talk about the history of the town, or I don't know. I don't think that really happens at movie theaters in Canada, but you could put it as a thing. You could say, it could be used. You could use the word could. Having a movie theater could be used to to like, I don't know, to raise our cultural raise our level of awareness about our past. We could run like documentaries, show documentaries maybe one day a week could be a documentary about the area, or or even you could say that even the schools could have a class where they make films, like a filmmaking class, and they could put their movie on the big screen. I mean, wouldn't that be cool? I've never thought about that. I'm just thinking about it now. If you were a kid, like let's say your school had a filmmaking class. Let's say you're in grade 10 or grade 12 or something, and you have a class, like a filmmaking class, where you go out with a camera and you're in your group or your class, you're supposed to make a video, like a movie or a documentary or something. So you make that, and then as a reward, you use the theater, the big screen, where maybe, I don't know, maybe 1 week every year they can have like a filmmaking competition and show all the groups, or maybe they could even have a competition of all the surrounding towns. Every class from the different towns could try to make a documentary and then have like a competition or like a contest, right? And they could all show their films on the big screen, and then judges could choose a winner for best film or best documentary. That would be fun. I mean, when I was in school, there was no filmmaking class or anything like that. Back then, cameras were really expensive, right? But nowadays, maybe some high schools offer filmmaking classes. I'm not sure. Okay, so anyway, those are just some examples that you could use. Now she says here in the paragraph, she says, now considering these reasons, I suggest building a mall as it would have variable advantages for community. Now that word variable is wrong. It should be various. Okay, building the mall would have various advantages. Okay, that's fine. Now, you know what? I think I would just end it after this paragraph here. Considering these reasons, I suggest building the shopping complex because it would have it would provide the benefits that I mentioned. Done. You could end it there. Now, she chose to put in another little paragraph, a sentence, said, "This is my personal opinion, but I will support whatever decision is made. Thank you for giving me a chance to provide input in this issue." It would be better to say input on this issue or input in this area. Say you could choose one or the other. Input in this area or input on this issue or input on this decision. You could say, okay, so I would either put these two last paragraphs together in one paragraph, or I would just completely axe the last sentence. To axe something means you cut it out, because actually this is a little bit long. It's a little bit over 200 words. Now, it's not much over 200 words, but remember, on the exam it says in 200 words or less, right? You have to write between 150 and 200 words. So I would say it's better to keep it under 200 words than to go over. But if it's a few words over, I don't think they're going to ding you. To ding you means to punish you and to take some of your score away. I don't think this answer would lose any marks for its length, but I would just say it would be better to combine the last two paragraphs or just axe the last sentence. But anyway, I think that's a good way to end it. Just say, considering these factors or considering these reasons, the reasons that I provided, I think our residents would love to have a new shopping center in our town. So that would be great. So guys, that's it. Hopefully those tips and that feedback helps you. Like I said, a lot of this stuff is kind of cultural, right? So, the more cultural knowledge you have, the better score you'll get. Sometimes it's not even about your grammar or your spelling. That's important. But there's another factor here that they're looking for. They're looking for, like, do you know how to speak? Who are you speaking to? Right? Is it formal? Is it informal? What's your tone? What kind of tone of voice are you using? Like I said, the paragraphs are good. It's a good structure. That's great. Does the person understand what the question is asking? Yes, I'd say she understands it very well. But again, like these cultural things, like I would say focus on those two pillars, right? Try to have good grammar, good spelling, good good punctuation, right? Periods, commas, all of that. But also learn kind of what is supposed to be what this answer is supposed to be like, right? Is it supposed to use the word would, for example, right? One of the things the CELPIP evaluators want to see is if a person understands what kind of situation this is. Like I said, this is a hypothetical situation. They haven't started building anything yet. There are two options. They're either going to do this or this. That's why we use the word would, not will. So if you use the word would, you'll get a higher score on this answer. But hey, great job, So hopefully, guys, my tips, my videos, hopefully they're helpful to you. I mean, that's why I started making CELPIP videos, to just help you pass this exam. And so that's why I get so excited when people actually use my materials and they say, Mark, you helped me so much. It makes me feel good because I want to help you guys. So guys, stick to it, stay studying. Like I said, I would take 3 months to study for the CELPIP exam, watch my videos, use my books, all my books. They're all a bit different. Use all of them. If you want to get a great score, take 3 months or maybe even 6 months. Study for 1 hour a day or 2 hours a day. Really focus on this and you will get a great score. So anything else, guys? I think that's it for now. So I'll sign off. As always, I love you guys so much. Hope you're having a great day. Don't study too hard. Take some time to go to the mall, buy yourself a new t-shirt, buy some nice food, try some Indian cuisine, try some new cuisine, maybe boost your spirit a little bit, right? It might refresh you, rejuvenate. I was going to say, we use the word rejuvenate more when we're talking about being in nature. So if you go to the mountains, if the question talks about going to the mountains, you can use the word rejuvenate, right? You're in the fresh air. It's just kind of nice in nature. You're rejuvenating your spirit. Another place we would use the word rejuvenate is like at a spa or some kind of a health, like some sort of like maybe a massage place or, I don't know, some kind of like natural treatment where, they just treat you well and it's just like you feel good. It's kind of a feel good place and you feel rejuvenated. All right, so those are kind of the two ways we would use the word rejuvenate. We probably wouldn't use that word to talk about restaurants, but I don't know. It's up to you. All right, so yeah, guys, with that, I think that's it. Let me know if you have anything else you would add in this answer. Like I said, I didn't rewrite everything. I just thought I'd give you some tips, some suggestions, tell you what things didn't make sense. Maybe how things would be a little bit more culturally appropriate. So hopefully that's helpful, guys. I always really appreciate your comments down there. Thank you for always smashing the like button and for subscribing and all that good stuff. I really appreciate you. So with that, have a great day. And as always, I'll see you over in the next episode of Mad English TV. Take care.